Hi, friends. Welcome to our third week of To the Church in Corona, our summer series studying Paul's letter to the Philippians. This week, I want to tell you a little story from my home. My 2-year-old has recently discovered a newfound joy in music. He wakes up each morning insisting on having a dance party. Anytime we get in the car, he declares that music must be played, and he has an incredible ability to rewrite the lyrics of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and Itsy Bitsy Little Spider to anything he might be experiencing in a given moment. And it's left me thinking a lot about the songs that we pass on to our children. So many of the songs that were given to me, the songs of Carole King and Simon and Garfunkel, is still the music that I find comfort and joy in today. I remember when I was at the Alzheimer's Association working, and the studies that were coming out about music's ability to embed itself somewhere deep in us. That as Alzheimer's disease would eat away at the brain of an individual, the memories that often survived the longest were the memories linked to music. That somehow it has a way of getting deep within our souls. This week, we are going to be reading the second chapter of Paul's letter to the Philippians. And at the heart of the second chapter is a song. It's what scholars call the Christ hymn, and it is believed to have originated prior to Paul, that Paul is quoting something that the Philippians would have been familiar with, an ancient song that perhaps was ringing in Paul's ear even as he was in prison. Some even think that this text in Philippians 2 was one of the earliest church writings about Christ. And the ideas presented there have roots that date back even further than Paul's time, even further than Jesus's time, actually. They root back to the prophet Isaiah and this idea of a suffering servant, of someone who would come and suffer and bear the burdens of others for their sake. This was the idea that was humming in the background. This was the song that Paul was singing in the second chapter of Philippians. This idea of a self-giving, limitless love of Christ. The song about a love that knew no bounds. A song about the self-emptying love of Jesus. And it's this image of love, this image that's portrayed in this Christ hymn, that Paul calls the Philippians to. It's a love, again, that knows no limits. And as you read the chapter this week, you may be thinking, how in the world am I supposed to live up to this example of Christ's love? This call, this song that Paul sings for the Philippians. Well, I think he gives us a little hint. You see, at the very end of that hymn that comes in chapter 2, verses 6 through 11, Paul writes this: "Therefore, my beloved, just as you have always obeyed me, not only in my presence, but much more now in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, for it is God who is at work in you, enabling you both to will and to work for his good and his pleasure." Friends, as we read this week of this limitless, self-giving love that we have been called to, the life of Christ that we are invited to imitate, Know that we are enabled to do so not by our own strength, not by our own charisma, by our own volition, but rather by the God who dwells within us. And now, friends, may the grace and peace of God equip you this week as you seek to follow that love, the love of Christ that knows no bounds, that knows no limits.